Anybody who does something different is criticized. Everybody. I'm sure you have your critics. I have my critics.
Right.
So Earhart Seminars Training was creating such powerful changes in people's lives that naturally got criticized. But I went to listen to it it was 2 days, two days trainings in Honolulu. I came out of there and that's when I realized I better change me. If I want to change the world, change me. And that was a powerful statement because I could blame the world or I could change me. When I was at the academy in New York, we were a #1 sailing school in America on Long Island Sound. So we used to take sails and we'd make wallets out of them because when we're on the ocean with leather wallets, they would get wet and rot. So in 1977, when I'm now out of the academy, out of the military, and thinking my first venture, I'm still at Xerox, and I figured, what's my first product? And my friends and I said, well, that wallet you carry is kind of interesting. And it was a crude little wallet. So we took that wallet to Korea. We had them make them, and we imported them back to the States. And so that was my first product. We made Runner's World magazine. We made what was other? Mine's getting me, but we were very, very successful. So the wallets were taking off all over the world, and I was out of money. We couldn't supply the demand. It takes a lot of money to buy inventory. So we're out of wallets. And then my CFO at the time, I didn't trust the guy. But anyway, because he was willing to work basically for free, his name was Stanley. So he said, raise some money. So I raised another $100,000 from my poor dad. My poor dad second mortgaged his house. He's a good guy, my dad. He says, if this is what you want to do, be an entrepreneur, I'll support you. Rich Dad turned me down. He says, why should I give you money? Because you're an idiot. He says, you have a bunch of crooks as partners, which was true. My CFO Stanley and my CEO John. And he says, I'm not going to help you. My poor dad did. So I gave the check to my CFO Stanley. And I said, Stanley, will this solve the problem? And he smiled, yes, it will. And it did solve the problem, his problem. He took that check, cashed it, and paid off his investors. So I was out of money. I saw all my investors, including my poor dad, and we went down. And so that was one of the first lessons I learned about real life is you got to be careful who you do business with. And just because a guy's a CPA and another guy's got his MBA doesn't mean they're honest people. And that's really one of the hardest things I had to learn is a college degree doesn't mean you're honest. As you know that, I know that, but I know that now. And the whole business went down because Stanley ran off with the money. We were just toast. And it's a lesson, you just keep learning. So, but the experience was good because I learned a lot. And from there, I just kept stumbling along and went back to real estate, started making my money back there. I paid off my father. It was one of the best lessons I ever had, Vlad. Now, Rich Dad had to declare bankruptcy about 20 years later, and we're a very successful company. It was for the same reason, Vlad. The CFO sued us and took us down. It's really interesting, you know what I mean? It's even though we're successful, it's those guys, the academic guys, the guys, the A students, who took us down every single time because they don't know how to make money. This guy one was a CPA and one was an MBA, the CEO, and they're a bunch of crooks. So you look on my records, I don't have a personal bankruptcy, but Rich Dad has a bankruptcy against him because our CFO, again, a CPA, took us down. I never invest in stocks. I don't trust the stock. I don't trust the stock market. You can. I'm not saying don't do it. I just don't trust them.
Yeah.
So I like real estate because I'm the investor. I don't need to trust anybody else. So anyway, the point is on that, I got into heavy metal simply because there was this company called 98 Rock in Honolulu. And they had a nice logo, 98 Rock, this was in the 80s, I guess. And I got into 98 Rock. We took that brand worldwide, just 98 Rock, FM Honolulu. And then a band called Pink Floyd called me. And they had the book, the music, Teacher, and The Wall, and all that stuff. So the rock bands contacted me. And there was another band called Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Van Halen, Boy George, and The Police. So suddenly, out of pure luck, I was in rock and roll. And as they say, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I loved it, man. I was so much fun. I was selling silk screens. So I got a wallet, and I silk screened the police on it. I got a hat, silk screened the police on it, and got all this stuff. And I silk screened Van Halen, Boy George, and all this. Same problem. Too much success. We couldn't finance the inventory. You know what I mean? Success is not easy. And again, it was another lesson, but thank God I had the lessons before that. And it's just been one big experience to keep learning. What I was starting to do was teach at that time. I found out I had met a guy named Buckminster Fuller, a guy that invented the geodesic dome and all that. And so all through my life, I studied Bucky Fuller, and he got to me. One day I was teaching, I was with him at a seminar outside of Reno, Nevada. And I was he asked the question, he says, what does God want you to do? I'm not really religious, I'm not pitching anything here. He says, all of us are born with a purpose in life. He says, what does God want you to do? And he got to me, if you know what I mean. And I said, well, we don't teach money at school, and I think I do understand about money now. And with that point, I started to teach entrepreneurship for free in Hawaii. And the more I did that, the more I found out magic happened. Because I wasn't doing it for me this time. I was doing it for what Fuller called the universe, to give back your gift. And so that teaching in Hawaii wound up to be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And what we were teaching, again, Money and You, is about the teachings of Buckminster Fuller. And our schools teach us not to make mistakes. And what Fuller says, we learn by mistakes. Like a baby can't learn to walk unless they fall down. So the reason many people fail in life is because they're afraid of failing. So I was a little student teaching the game, teaching from another instructor. And I was just teaching games via games, encouraging people to make mistakes and how to learn from your mistakes. So that was the process. So it wasn't about me getting smarter, making them smarter. It was basically teaching them how to make mistakes and get the principles. Like if you're a baby and you fall down, you learn something. So my biggest lessons was learning from people I thought were smarter than me, like the accountants and the attorneys. And they turned out to be crooks. Do you know what I mean? It was my lesson, because I thought, like my poor dad was a PhD, I should listen to him, but he was poor. But people listen to poor people, if you know what I mean. And my poor dad lost everything because he ran for lieutenant governor of the state of Hawaii as a Republican. And when he lost the election, the governor fired him, basically saying, you'll never work again. So when my poor dad lost everything, he lost his pension also. And so out of all of these life experiences came Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but it was teaching people how to make mistakes.
Yeah, this almost reminds me of, I think, a quote in Warren Buffett's book that I read a while back. He said that Wall Street is the only place on earth that someone takes a train to give someone financial advice who drives a Rolls Royce.
That's one of my favorite sayings also. In other words, these guys who are financial planners are sales guys. They're not rich people. They're not really investors. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I don't have a 401k. I don't save money, and I don't invest in the stock market. I am an entrepreneur. I can create my own assets.
Small ebook, big impact, The Wealth Tree. The only 4 ways that will make you financially free forever. Download it here for free.